Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. Welcome to the Beyond Broadcast session, the role of AI, data analytics, and personalization in sports. Before we introduce the esteemed panel, I'm going to run through a few slides just to give you a little bit of a level set in terms of some of the trends we're seeing in the industry and how some of our customers are leveraging data, AI, and analytics in their business. So, as we see demographic trends shifting in the industry, we see viewer behavior changing dramatically. Newer generations are preferring more engaging content, more maybe user-generated content. They're embracing the creator economy, and they're also leveraging new technologies as they come along. So, looking at viewer behavior on mobile devices, for example, as opposed to traditional linear television, which is the new. These new generations are also really engaged in immersive and personalized experiences. So they're looking for more in-depth, immersive, maybe multi-platform experiences where they might consume on multiple devices and in multiple mediums. And we're also seeing a lot of our customers who are seeking to engage these audiences, starting to leverage their intellectual property to exploit into new domains. The world population is now over 8.2 billion people. And of those, 5.8 billion are unique monthly mobile device users. You can think about that. 2/3 of all the people in the world have a handheld device, and they've got both the ability to engage and consume content, but also a lot of computing power on that device as well now. And as you see here, 47% of that new generation prefers that social video, live events, and 3.5 billion people are playing video games each and every week. You're seeing a tremendous shift in terms of the audience behavior, the types of content and platforms that they want to engage. To embrace that change and really serve that new audience, we're seeing customers leverage data, especially in the sports business, in really three key pillars. One is leveraging data and analytics for performance, player performance, and improving their athletes and their team's ability to win on the field. They're also using data analytics to engage fans in new and interesting ways. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. The rise of AI and machine learning enables us to bring more personalized experiences, but also bring richer data to the viewing experience. And we're seeing significant shifts in the ability to produce content. So, for example, we're demonstrating a live file production demonstration of Formula One esports out there in the West Hall foyer. You can go to our booth right inside the West Hall to see how that is being produced end to end on the cloud today. So the technology is now been democratized and is available globally for people to produce these live events at much lower cost, with a lower carbon footprint, and be able to move much more quickly and spin these resources up really with the touch of a button. And we've got a unique position at AWS because we have so many customers across the board. We're seeing the use of data, AI, and analytics in really new and interesting ways. And with the rise of generative AI and video understanding, foundation models, and new technologies like that, which you can see at our booth, we're seeing really creative new ways to drive fan engagement, to create those personalized experiences. And with that, I'm proud to welcome my esteemed colleagues here. Max Kaltenhäuser is with the Deutsche Fußball League. He runs R&D for the Americas, right? For the Sport Tech Solutions Group within the DFO. Thanks, Max. And Rick Perez-Selsky is with Fox Sports, and he's driving real innovation in the use of analytics and AI in terms of the fan experience, the viewer experience, and presenting this data in new and interesting ways for their audience. And last but not least, Nate Peterson is the Chief Executive Officer of Tagboard. And Tagboard's a partner that we're working with, and they're actually helping power the experience that you see out there in the West Hall. So welcome, gentlemen. Thanks so much for participating. Thank you. Sarah, having us. So maybe we can start by just giving a little background on yourself and your company and what does Sport Tech do, Max?
Yeah. So basically we are GV from Bundesliga, that is purely focused on data and video. So everything that is related to live performance data and the data collection, data processing, live statistic, provision and distribution is managed by us. So this is the one part, and the other part is the officiating part. So we handle all the video replay, video assistant referee technology, medical sideline review, and everything that is related to player health, player safety, but also officiating on the video side. And we do it for Bundesliga. So everything we develop is basically in use for Bundesliga and the second league there. But we also provide these services now to other federations worldwide, especially also here in the Americas with Major League Soccer. So.
That's great. Thank you. And Rick, tell us about your role at Fox Sports and some of the efforts you're pursuing.
Yeah, absolutely. Lead up production and technology for the Fox Sports Digital Group. I think what's unique about that is, we really get to touch all of the sports that Fox Sports has in its catalog. So all of our verticals are NFL, college football, college basketball, NASCAR. We now have IndyCar. We've got Live on our air. So it's really exciting that we get to work with I get to work with a lot of different partners, and how we use data and how we use analytics in terms of our fan engagement. That's really what we're looking at. And how do I overservice the fans, right? So if I have somebody who is, liking a post from NFL on Fox, okay, how do I get that person now follow MLB on Fox? How do I get that person to engage with college football on Fox? And it's using the tools, with AWS and other vendors to really kind of just hone in and do some social listening across our audiences, which has been really interesting over the past year or so.
Excellent. Thank you. And Nate, you're the CEO of Tagboard, the AWS partner,
yes,
and a real innovator in this space in terms of taking data and enabling those new visual experiences, new viewer experience. Yeah, it's a little bit about what you do.
Thanks for having me too. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. Apologies about my voice. I sound like RFK Jr. right now from Vegas and all the smoke. So,
not the only one.
Yeah. It's great to be up here. Blandy, you have a tremendous rep in this industry, and I appreciate you bringing me up. And then this guy happens to be one of my best clients and pushes the envelope in every single thing that we do. So we'll have some good collaborative stories. We got our start. If you watch news, sports, or entertainment in the United States, you've probably seen us and you didn't know it. Most famous for the tweets that make fun of Chuck and Shaq on the NBA on TNT. What we stumbled upon, when doing that, starting back in 2018, was a workflow and user experience issue of taking real-time data APIs and making it dead simple for anybody on the front end through user experience to say, I want this data in a graphic here. We were very fortunate, to have partners like Rick and the Fox team to help push us on what that should look like as we kept the user experience simple, but had the enterprise grade data necessary to be able to produce at scale. And so now we're a full-fledged cloud graphics system, built on AWS, powering that F1 experience data out there, which is really cool, the visuals that you see. So thank you for the opportunity there.
Absolutely. Okay. So Max, back to you. Can you talk a little bit about the types of data that you're generating and how are the teams in the Bundesliga leveraging that data for player performance or improving their odds on the field?
Yeah, and this is a little bit the challenge from our point of view, because we have a broad target group, a broad audience. For us, it's the fan on the one side, but we also cover media partners from Bundesliga. We also cover the clubs on the performances side and the coaches to analyze the data. And what we actually do is we have an optical tracking system installed in every stadium. So we collect the positional data from every player, from the referees, from the ball in real time. And then we calculate new statistics out of it. And for us, a key milestone was a couple of years ago, together with AWS, the release of the Bundesliga match facts, similar to the next gen stats at NFL. But it was something new in soccer, something new in football. And this was a key milestone for us, especially on the media side. And on the club performance side, it's a different story. They also use these next gen stats and these Bundesliga match facts. But in the end, they need different tools to analyze the data, because there we have a high level of competition between the clubs, and it's a little bit a different use case than with media or with fans at home.
And Rick, you got access to tremendous troves of data. Typically in the traditional sports broadcast, you might have ticker or the Fox box with the scoring and the down and distance and things like that. But with the rise of all this new data, these new sources of data that you're getting from the teams, the leagues, or your own solutions, you're now awash with all kinds of data. And it doesn't need to just come from some color commentary person. They can now be put in the hands of the consumer. So how are you leveraging all that data and then presenting that to your fans audience?
Yeah. I think when I think about, the data sets that we have access to, I think about visualizations that we can create that almost, look like works of art, right? I think that that's a real interesting, an interesting thing. So using like Gen AI, and I brought, this example of, we had a visualization that was built using, Gen AI and Unreal Engine that created, all of Caitlin Clark's like baskets, right? From when she broke the record at NCAA, or, for the NCAA women's league. And, the way that it looks, and, stick around afterwards and I'll show you what it looks like on the phone, but it really just looks like this, like, incredible, like waterfall action, and it really is like it's captivating, just watching it. And so that's kind of the thing that I'm looking at. And we're looking to do that more, especially as we look ahead to like the World Cup and, doing it with goals, or doing it, with touchdowns for the fall, doing it with home runs for postseason baseball, things like that. But it's creating like these, these beautiful visualizations out of the data that I think it's an interesting thing to, it's a timeline stopper, for lack of a better term.
Is that something that the end user can interact with? You mentioned Unreal Engine, so it's game engine driving that spatial experience. Like, what's the consumer experience like?
Yeah, I think the consumer experience is, I think it's interactive in the way that, if you spot it like on your social timeline. And I think that, in speaking with, Meta and TikTok and X, and it's when you're discovering that kind of content, they are driving, quality in the search. That's the one thing that they point to, because I'm like, how do I get my content surfaced? Like, how are you guys doing it? And obviously they're not going to tell you the algorithm, right? But what they can tell me, and what they've said to me and to other partners, is that quality is one thing that does rise to the top. The pixel count is what rises to the top. So again, like creating something stunning like that, that's going to surface, and it's going to attract the eyeballs that you want.
That's one way you're differentiating your content to really get that fan engagement.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, that's why we're building in, things like Unreal. That's why we're pushing the envelope when it comes to graphics and our videos and things like that. And just maximizing quality at every turn.
Very cool. So maybe you're helping power some of those experiences for Fox Sports.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how that works, like dig a little deeper in terms of the technology.
Well, this guy will tell you more than I ever could about the tech experience itself. That example is probably one of my favorites from the last year. It started with a text from Mike Buckland saying, "Hey, we got an ISO cam on Caitlin Clark. We think she's about to break the record. We think we're going to do this like live on TikTok. And I think like, should we use the graphics and live data for this?" And I was like, yeah, and like Rick's all over it. Right. So, and that was our first vertical live with you guys. And that was the first vertical live that we had ever done. Had been done using our platform. We've done multiple since, obviously, with Euros and Copa following that. And so, we're really lucky, like I said, to have, the ability to intake this data. I was even just chatting briefly with Max there, but like, we could probably figure out a collaboration on this stage coming up for World Cup in States, right? Like if you have data on the side of MLS, they're covering the whole thing. And the visualizations, Rick built probably one of the most beautiful studios I've ever seen, that utilizes Tagboard to visualize everything that you see. And like I said, he's the one that pushes the envelope. And
It's not just powering the on-air experience in terms of the graphics, but it's also powering some of the digital experiences for
Yeah, I mean, I'll kick it back to you if you want to say like, how many different areas, because we're linear, digital, your studio.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to the studio, I think, I think one of the first of its kind, digital only content studio, 3,000 square feet of space and, a ton of LED fixtures, but all those LED fixtures are being powered by pegboard, which I think is, super unique for the space and just, and again, being able to bring those visualizations to life, like through through graphics in the cloud, I think is, kind of the first of its kind. In addition to that, I think the other, interesting thing as we dig into the data on a lot of our content is 90% of our content is viewed vertically. Viewed, someone in the phone just like this. It's not viewed horizontally anymore.
Back to that trend we talked about earlier.
Correct.
With mobile devices, people are consuming more and more content.
1,000%. And so how are you creating content that is natively 9:16, natively, vertical to where you're still keeping that pixel count, right? Because that's what's super important for discoverability. And so an example, like during Euroscopa, we produced our content in one control room. It was horizontal for the partners that took horizontal content. And then in another control room, we were producing a verticalized version of the same thing. Different producer, different director, and different, graphics, because graphics that work horizontally don't necessarily work vertically. And so it's really starting to think about that and where your audience actually sits in the world so that you can service them, with where they want to see that content.
Yeah. The speed at which you can do it is a user experience solve that, I'll never forget I think we were walking back from, Nakatomi Plaza, on the Fox lot, over to the other building. And I asked you, like, what keeps you rocking with us and, not considering like anything else. And he said, you guys build the best user experience I've ever seen. So like, keep at that and you're always going to win. Cause, our theory behind all of this is that if we make it easy enough for anyone to do, then you're democratizing production, right? So, drag and drop workflows, no code, AI. I know we're going to get into that next, but like that's the, Gen AI is like going to change the game on, everything that we're all doing because it's the speed at which you can create. And when, major media is faced with the volume of content that comes from social, that user experience in order to do scale like Fox does or like Bleacher does, like you have to do it fast. You have to do it efficient. It's got to be accurate. Can't sacrifice quality, but I think UX is the one thing that we've said has always kind of set it apart.
And I think this part consistency, when you mentioned, this is really the key from a league perspective, because there are a lot of leagues outside and federation with different production partners, different trucks, different broadcast partners, and so on. And you as a league, you want to achieve a consistent product on broadcast, right? So we need to provide the tools for that. And this is a challenge, or opportunity and challenge.
Oh, it's definitely both.
I know that it's interesting because like getting into the space, we kind of hopped into off the back of putting social content on air. There's a lot of people that are kind of naysayers and doubters on it, and it happens, and they're like, well, this can't really work across. It's like, well, we did 250,000 shows last year. So, every major media company in the US minus CBS, anybody from CBS should talk.
Still opportunity out there.
Yeah, there's still a little opportunity out there, but, it's a real thing. And like, I mean, I remember when you guys first told me you kept like 14 people at home, during the World Cup instead of sending them to Doha, and they were producing from their couch. And then it dated back earlier in the pandemic, you guys were producing from the garage.
Yeah, the democratization of these tools, the ability to enable that remote workforce, work from anywhere, allows you to hire the best people anywhere in the world, really. Collaborate on.
Cool. Yeah. And new realms of people too, right? With innovative ideas and
lowering the barrier to entry. It sounds like you built tools for the production teams and make it easier and easier to get these, real-time data streams presented in a way visually compelling. It doesn't require a ton of technical expertise on the operations team side.
Yeah. And if you want to see it, just go down to the fishbowl and you'll see the F1 production happening right now. My team's on that since you guys, graced us with the opportunity and, it's cool. I also got to, race my head of Eng on a Friday as a test. And he brought in a couple.
You win? Yeah.
No, they kicked the living crap out of me. Sorry. I'd probably use a harsher word. I don't know, for recording this, but yeah, no, they
I
dusted.
should mention that you can actually go race against your friends in a virtual esports Formula One environment. So
Yeah. Well, Julie sees us sitting back there. We did a pod yesterday and I said, so we got to go race. And so we're like, maybe we can grab Blandy and Rick and we'll go race out. And it's just, yeah.
Max, Bundesliga has really grown their brand beyond Germany, beyond Europe. And I'd say you probably have more fans engaged outside of, the domestic, core audience now through your digital platforms. In other words, can you talk a little bit about how you took advantage of that global scale and access that global audience and really help build the brand for Bundesliga?
Yeah. Actually, we are still on it. So we are not there yet. There's still a long way to go. But especially here in the Americas, especially here in this market, there's a lot of development, a lot of positive development. I think, first of all, when it comes to the technology and to the infrastructure, we have a system in place and we developed a system together with AWS that is scalable. So this is the first milestone and the first important step. And now we have to build up or build services on top of that. And just as an example, I think it was a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, we have been working on a commentary feed, a feed that translates the game and everything that is happening on the game and all the data points into text. Pretty easy, live ticker. Yeah. Okay. And then we had the discussion, okay, how can we scale it for international fans globally? Then how can we make it a little bit more spicy, the text and so on? And at this point, it was a challenge. Today, it's pretty easy, I would say, with AI and with different language models behind that. So we are working on a Gen AI ticker at the moment that helps us to provide our content and everything in real time, all the data points, all the relevant metrics in real time to fans globally without bigger efforts. So it's scalable. And this is one key milestone for us at the moment, that all the products that we have and all the data we are collecting on top or in combination with AI and Gen AI needs to be scalable. And this is the key right now. And this is our strategy for the future.
Yeah, scalability and then also localization. What I heard. Yeah, the need to really tailor the content for the audience in that.
Exactly.
So can you talk a little bit about how that works? Or you mentioned a commentary feed. So is that taking existing color commentary from on our talent and translating it, or are you actually generating new insights with machine learning tools?
Exactly. So we started with a typical, so based on our own data collection, we started with a classical model to translate this into text. Okay. And now we are adding a machine learning model on top of that based on different language models. So then that we can create new stories out of it. So it's not only the simple text trace after text trace. It's in combination with videos, with short clips, with images, with new content in real time that is generated in real time in different languages, in different styles of languages. So you can have this new Gen AI ticker in a version that is like your best buddy explains you something that is happening on the pitch, or you can switch to the sports commentator that is a little bit more neutral, let's say. And with that flexibility, it's easier for us to reach different target groups globally.
That's really easy. So you can switch between personas on the fly.
Exactly.
Because the machine is creating the kind of.
Yeah.
Very cool. So have you guys experimented much with generative AI? Like, how are you seeing these tools impacting the viewer experience and enabling new types of engagement?
I think it's always for us, I think when we look at AI tools, speed to market, right? And, couple of examples. During the Super Bowl, we had a very, gregarious talent, Jameis Winston, who's, ended up getting like 128 million, views that week, like actually superseded like the amount of people that watched the Super Bowl. But it's just crazy. But one of the things, and he would just have these analogies that were just impossible to recreate. And so one of the things that he said when, there was a kickoff during the Super Bowl, and he said, you know what it's like to be on special teams? It's like if you had a little carrot in your mouth and you were being chased by 11 ostriches. So it's just such a crazy, it's just that it's not fun. It's such a crazy visual. But what our editors were able to do was they were able to pull together a few different, using AI graphics, solutions that are out there. And they recreated that image of Jameis being chased by 11 ostriches. And that became part of the content that was actually, published to our social feeds.
So from his brain and mouth to
Correct.
an AI tool to create to actualize his concept.
And it's interesting, right? I mean, we don't, there's not one tool out there. And so it's like our team is still very much in the exploratory phase of like, okay, we can maybe do a little bit of motion from this, and we can do graphics from this, and we can still, utilize like old tools like Photoshop, Premiere, to really bring something to life. At the start of the MLB season, we did a video. If you can find it on MLB on Fox, I think it's really well done, but it is built entirely in AI, which was kind of these older players saying hi to like their younger selves on the field. So like you had like Justin Verlander, who's like, saying hi to like, like Justin Verlander's 41 years old, and he's saying hi to like his 24-year-old self. And we had a producer write a script for that, and so these are the types of things that I think that we're constantly playing with, and we're just looking to dive in more.
Yeah. I mean, that example is seriously one of the coolest things that happened in a long time, right? I mean, you've got, Tom Brady calling his first Super Bowl on Fox Linear, and then, Fox made a really good call on who to pick from a talent standpoint to surround, the ecosystem with more content, right? And that, talk about democratization, right? I mean, if you're putting a camera on somebody and they're that talented, I was secretly hoping Jameis didn't get signed by the Giants because I just want to see more of his content. When I'm like, Jameis, just start being a commentator, man. Like he's so good and so genuine, but it also speaks to like how they think about creating this content and democratizing production too. So their choices are very, very deliberate, and it's an honor, honestly, to work around this even and see it all in action. I mean, Mace was running around with a live view backpack, shooting this content, and, another AWS partner, you guys are using us for the graphics, and it's like going out, going live, going viral at, the speed of the moment. It was a cool thing to see. From a Gen AI perspective, we're, we'll sneak peek to what we're launching here soon. Probably alpha state to start. So, give this guy access and see what he says. You can rip it up. Yeah. But we have a build on Bedrock and, using Claude Sonnet right now, where we're looking at how, we take our shoppable APIs, where we were able to intake Fanatics API system and also Amazon's for a catalog where, people across media can essentially select things that they could use contextually in the moment, during a big moment in a game, right? So, or anything. So if I'm like,
It's really like an editorial assist, giving team cues to
absolutely. Yep.
you don't have to look everything up manually.
Our code name for it, where we started was AIAP. So like AI associate producer. I won't name drop what we selected. So, my COO will probably kill me for even talking about it up here, but Marty,
They should have,
sneak preview, but,
lingering in the hallway. I mean,
but it's exciting, right? I mean, like the shoppable moments in the context and speed at which you can run something like during a key moment has high conversion rates. So some of our early tests without AI are converting at 4%, and standard direct is it's less than 1%. And so that just means if you can, hit that moment, like you would, put a tweet out to cover the Super Bowl on linear television. If you can hit that fast enough, and it's you're talking shoppable alt streams, and it doesn't have to always be on the main screen, but, signage or studio stuff where they're talking, behind the scenes. So it just opens up an opportunity, right? And, the one thing I've heard, like, as we've been building this out is, media companies saying like, well, we're not going to employ more people to go do some of this stuff. Right. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, but that's where Gen AI is going to come in and kind of do it for you, right? We're looking at basically reading moments, playlists, rundowns in our system. Obviously we'll mix in video feed and content and be able to suggest to people what meets the moment and, do it, fast enough at the pace of live sports.
I think it's a great point. I think, when you're talking about now having to produce content for all these new formats and medium, while maintaining your cost profile, you need to boost productivity. You think generative AI and machine learning is radically productivity in almost every aspect, content production.
And on top of that, we will have more and more data in the future. So it's not that we stop now with the data collection and that's the status quo. So I think every league is looking into new technologies to capture more live data and to integrate different data sources. So just as an example, in soccer, there's a huge topic about skeleton data. Skeleton data means we would multiply our live data, exponentially. So, and
so what does that mean? When you talk about skeleton data, you're talking about actually tracking the individual sort of bone movements of players themselves.
So it's like 29 points on each body, and we track that multiple times a second. And based on that, you can create new content out of it. But we have to bring it in context. So it's more and more data. It's more and more data, but we have to show the right visualizations at the right time in order to tell a story. And this is the moment where Gen AI kicks in, because I think we all know the situation, live broadcast, live situation, different crews, different producers, different graphic operators. And, it is a stressful situation. We need to help these guys. We need to help the media folks to tell the right stories at the right time.
Yeah, I agree. I think, one of the trends that we're seeing now on the frontier is agentic AI, rise of AI agents who are going to be really purpose-built small models that are designed to solve one task really well, and then orchestration of the agent, automate a lot of that. I'm really excited about that. And what are the challenges though, in terms of trying to do this integration? You've obviously been working with Tagboard, which helps ease some of that, right? You got the tremendous amount of data all flowing in real time. How do you get that integrated into like a traditional broadcast, workflow?
I think it takes time. It takes a lot of just, efforting different things. I'm thinking about, a project that I'm working on with the AWS dev team right now. And, I mentioned the importance of 9:16 video and how 90% of our audience is viewing video like that. And one of the things that we're working on is, okay, well, if you have a normal, like horizontal, video, 16:9, all right, here's 9:16. And can you follow that action? In a game, can you follow that in a college basketball game, which is, so frenetic, right? Like, and it can't just follow.
Not a human operator having to pan and scan.
That's correct. But again, it'll now be a live feed that now I can put into, something like an Instagram or a TikTok, or can I put it back into a clipping software to clip that highlight? And then can that also be automated? Again, talking everything is about just speed to market.
Might be able to help with that. Good.
Yeah. And we're getting really close, which is like super exciting. But again, like it's not just, like track the ball or track the person. And how fast is that track going to go? Like what's like the smoothing effect of that? You can't just go like this throughout, you're going to make your audience sick. No one's going to watch it. So it's those types of things that I think that we're obviously like we're most excited about. And the other thing that I'll mention too is, we're diving now into immersive. One of our biggest partners is Cosm. And, for those that don't know Cosm, it's like to take the sphere, but it's a little bit smaller. And imagine it's like you're in a sports bar and you're watching your favorite sporting event. And we did it with soccer. We did it with baseball. We did it with football.
Jeb Terry, the former Fox and Peter Murphy used to.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great team and it's a great partnership. And not only are we using those cameras, at Fox games to feed the Cosm venue, but that's also now becomes your immersive environment when you put on your your headset. And then you're also being able to look at immersive highlights that are now being cut again with those cameras.
Yeah, we had Devin Pullman a couple of days ago on the main stage. We had Samira Bakhtiar, our general manager, and he was talking about how they're using AI to sharpen and enhance the image. They're already capturing it 10K, 10.5K, but once you project it on that big dome, and I've been in there, it's amazing. Yeah. But they're continually trying to improve the visual quality and the experience so that the audience truly feels like they're on the pitch, if you.
Yeah. And a lot of that too is like about, and we consulted with them. It's like, it's not just that. It's like, it's where you put those cameras. And I think that one of the coolest things about Cosm is actually when you look to your left and your right, and it's like you see the continuation of the bleachers just from where you're seated, so the camera's positioned in such a way that it's like, oh, like you feel like you're sitting in the field or in the stadium.
Yeah. It's really cool. Have you guys looked at anything around this new immersive sort of experience space? Like how to get the fans even deeper into the experience?
Definitely same experiences here. So, we are also working on VR glasses and VR applications, augmented reality, and also the graphic that you mentioned with Katie and Clark. I checked it out. It's awesome. It's great. And, this is the same that we are also working on from a soccer perspective with our data.
You could visualize shots on goal by a certain number of games.
And when you combine that with VR glasses or Cosm or these immersive ways to consume the game and to watch the game, it's a game changer.
We only got a few minutes left, but I guess that leads me to my last question. But give us one prediction about the futures. Talk about the trends, where the audience is going, the rise of the use of data analytics and now machine learning. And what do you see coming next? What excites you about this sort of wave of technology change? How do you think that's going to impact? We'll start with you.
Yeah, it's it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting times, and thank you for the partnership. I mean, Rick mentioned the project that they're doing with you. I've got to just say, like, AWS has been a tremendous partner. Greg Wawery is our guy, and I've never met a better connector and human being overall, but like, it gives us opportunity to build, right? Like, we are connected to the absolute best minds in the industry. And what I'm excited about is that kind of continued democratization of production where the creator and the major media company are coming closer and closer together, right? And, the more that happens, the more types of content you're going to see, things that we have thought of, haven't thought of, things that maybe like made an appearance and didn't catch fast enough, and got killed, but will make a resurrection. Like, I mean, I think all viewing experiences make a lot of sense the more personalized you can get them, right? And, I'm excited to see that take place and transpire, and just, feel, grateful to be, in the presence of great technologists that help us push the envelope on it.
Great. Yeah. I think what I heard from you is lowering the barrier to entry, making the tools easier to use also helps up their game, so to speak. So that creator economy we were talking about earlier, you're going to get really compelling content now from potentially millions of creators that meet the standard that you might have at a Fox Sports.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't need to be, Fox Sports to have an NBA data set anymore, or an NFL data set. If leagues allow the data to kind of go out to more places, which they are, right? And you're seeing more and more of these streams pop up, then, there's going to be diversification of the types of content you create. What I love about Fox is, they say we're not like, it's a quality over quantity thing, right? Like they stick to having the highest quality of talent, of visuals, of, experience.
I think it shows in all the awards that Fox Sports wins years for presentation.
You can Venmo me later, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Rick, what excites you about the future? What's the most interesting trend that you're seeing play out?
I think it's really about a deeper understanding of our audience and how they interact with our content, and not just with our content, but with other content that is out there, because then I can over service my fans. So for instance, it's having an understanding of, okay, maybe this person interacted with a host from NASCAR on Fox, but then they also maybe follow Will Ferrell. And now I can assume that they maybe also are a fan of the movie Talladega Nights. And now I can service them with like a meme or content that is, a cross between the movie and the highlight, and so it's, or maybe they're like a Post Malone fan, as well. And so like now it's like now I can pull something from Post Malone into the highlight. And I can again, just like, if I have more of an understanding of not just how they deal with our own stuff, it's like how they deal with social media as a whole. Now I can just create very personalized, very custom content just for, just for them. And that's where I get like really excited.
Well, so back to that, data platform is collecting more and more first party data about your audience, but also trying to bring in some third party data sources about them, truly understand their and really drive up.
Exactly.
Cool. Max, last but not least,
Yeah.
your prediction for us for the future.
I'm again the data nerd that is rather focused on the performance side. I just mentioned that we are open our gates for more data points, more data collection. This is a challenge and also an opportunity, because at the same time we were just discussing, we want to have a high quality broadcast, high quality services, high quality implementations. And we see, especially with the pace of AI and the different technologies out there, there are new technologies, new tools popping up every other day. And at the same time, we really have to integrate and implement that into our workflows and have to make sure that the different audiences, the different user groups are capable and are able to use that in order to access that high amount of data. So we have more data, we have more technology, and we really need, it's not only about deploying a new feature, a new tool, it's also about integrating it. And this is for us
Enabling the workforce.
Exactly. And this is this is something, to be fully honest, that was also a learning from our side in the past years. We were super proud of deploying new features, new technologies and stats and metrics. And then we were like, okay, now let's use it. Please use it. Please use it. But we really have to integrate and implement it and educate the people, especially with the amount of data that is key.
Yeah, there's a workforce enablement or change aspect challenge. I see that a lot as they adopt me. Before we wrap, I would encourage everyone to check out our activations downstairs. We've got the esports racing platform down there, so you can sign up and race against your friends, and then go into the West Hall. We're in the booth right inside the door there, W1701, to see how we're doing live cloud production. We're using these new tools to drive fan engagement, and also the latest in our generative AI. With that, I want to thank the panel. I appreciate it. Thanks very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. This has been